Thank you all for joining us today at IndyPy, the October 2021 edition. I always have to keep reminding myself of what year and what month it is, it seems like these days. If you are interested in more things like this, we also run the Indy AWS meeting, which is next week. And the Twitter account for IndyPy will be live tweeting. I assume, Laura, you're going to try and live tweet David's talk as well?
I sure will be.
So yeah, if you want to follow IndyPy on Twitter, there'll be some live tweeting going on there. You could also find out about upcoming events and things that are going on in the IndyPy ecosystem. I do want to thank our sponsor for IndyPy this month. We have 6 Feet Up. So IndyPy is brought to you by 6 Feet Up. 6 Feet Up is a software company that helps organizations build apps faster, innovate with AI, simplify big data, leverage cloud technology. I co-founded 6 Feet Up in 1999 and have been the CTO ever since and love doing all the things we do with the community. I want to thank our platinum sponsor, JetBrains. They have been sponsoring many of the door prizes we've been giving out for the last few years. Thanks again to them for the PyCharm licenses. And our bronze sponsors, which you'll notice there's more than one on the sheet here now today. Normally Ari would be here. I don't think Ari's here today, but for JFrog, an awesome sponsor, they are sponsoring the Adafruit Clue and sponsoring some of the other IndyPy activity. And then we have a new sponsor. So I want to welcome you all. Welcome Jeff here from Reify. Jeff, actually, do you want to give a quick little shout out?
Well, real quick note about Reify Health. We are a SaaS company based out of Boston, Massachusetts. We have applications that are used in the clinical trial space. I'm going to tell you 3 things you need to know about Reify Health. Number 1, our mission is to improve the success rate of clinical trials and help them complete more quickly. That actually can lead to life-changing or life-saving outcomes for people. So we really are proud of our mission. Number 2, we are a fully remote company. I said we're based in Boston, but I myself work here in Indianapolis along with a few colleagues. We have people all across 5 North American time zones, several team members in South America, Europe, Eastern Europe, the Middle East. So we are definitely a remote first culture. Turns out we were remote first before COVID. So I think we really know how to do remote right. And the last and most important thing, we are growing. When I started with Reify Health last year, we had 25 engineers. By the end of the year, we had 40. We set an aggressive goal to double our engineering team in 2021 to hit 80. Last month, we hired our 100th engineer, so we blew that number out of the water. And we reevaluated our goals. By early Q1 this year, we are going to be at 200 engineers. So we are hiring 100 engineers over the next 4 to 5 months, development and test engineers at all levels. We do a lot of Clojure, a lot of JavaScript, and a lot of, wait for it, Python. So I am more than happy to talk to anybody that wants more information. I'm really looking forward to the presentation today, but I'll hang around if anybody has any questions afterwards, Laura, if that's okay. Or you can reach me at my email address. I'll post it here in the chat, and you can easily find me on the Indie Hacker Slack. Back to you, Calvin. Thank you both.
Awesome. And a great call out to the Indie Hacker Slack. That is also coming up. But if you're interested in being a sponsor like Jeff and all the other great sponsors here at IndyPy, there is a webpage you can go to on indypy.org, or you can email Laura, and she'd be happy to help you out in sponsoring an awesome community here in Indianapolis. There is our own Slack. So in addition to the Indie Hacker Slack, IndyPy does have a dedicated Slack with a jobs channel. So if there are other orgs who are looking to hire, or if you are looking for a career change, I really encourage you to go over to the IndyPy Slack and check out the jobs channel. There is a inviter link right here, so that should get you an invite. If not, ping me on email. If you can't find me, you're not trying hard enough, because I'm not a hard person to find. And we have moved to meetingplace.io. I know I'm beating this drum, but I really believe in Meetingplace, and the creator of Meetingplace is actually in the room today with us. It's pretty awesome. We're honored to be graced by Chris's presence, but it's an awesome platform. You should move your meetup there too. If you've not claimed your meetup.com profile on IndyPy, please go and do that now. We'll be taking all the door prize drawing entries come from meetingplace.io's RSVP. So if you did not RSVP there through Meetingplace, you'll need to do so if you want to be included in the door prize drawing, which will be 2 PyCharm professional licenses are up for grabs and 1 Adafruit Clue. So I want to thank JetBrains and JFrog for their donation of those door prizes. And if you want to be included, just make sure you have RSVP'd on meetingplace.io before the end of David's talk, because I will do a live drawing where I will scrape meetingplace.io in right in front of you, so that no man behind the curtain, should be all out in the open up. But all right, with that being said, without further ado, I want to introduce our guest speaker today, David Soul. He is a member of the IndyPy and AWS communities and has spoken at our Python Web Conference as well. He's going to talk about automating spreadsheets with Python, OpenPyXL, and Pandas.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here to participate with this wonderful community. Today, I want to talk to you about using Python to automate spreadsheets. The event link and the repository, everything you're going to see today, the Jupyter Notebook and the program we're going to check, they are already in the repository, so you can check the code at leisure later on. If you want to contact me later, you can do it at Twitter, Solderate Cloud, and I promise to join the Slack of IndyPy. I have forgotten to do that. I will do it today. I'm part of the AWS Community Builder group. You will see that the example I bring has to do with AWS, and I love Python, I have to confess. So, to say quickly, I think spreadsheets are wonderful. If someone tell me you're going to lose everything from computers except only one thing, I think I will choose spreadsheets, because they have helped us a lot to work, to organize, to deal with the needs we have. Okay, the problem is we use spreadsheets for everything. I have seen one too many times, instead of using a database, people use a spreadsheet and try to do everything in Excel. I have seen people developing applications in Visual Basic for applications, which is an abomination in the eye of the Lord, if you ask me. But yes, we tend to use spreadsheets for everything, for anything, and it works. It's possible, but it's not the best use case in many cases. Also, spreadsheets make us work manually, make us do the same thing over and over again. Instead of us taking control of the computer, sometimes we feel like the computer is taking control of us. And we have people, we have co-workers, which their workday consists in copying and pasting and creating and formatting spreadsheets. Okay, Python can help us. Why? Because Python can help us automate what we do with the spreadsheets, can help us avoid this manual work, can help us avoid the mistakes we make when we do all of these processes manually. And we can create a program like God intended us to do, and let the computer do the heavy lifting, the repetitive tasks, and for us to be more productive. Okay, today there are a lot of ways Python can help us with spreadsheets. The easiest one is we can take the data, generate a comma-separated file, a tab-separated file, and import the data into a spreadsheet even with the formatting already done. And that works, that helps, that is great. But Python helps us in other ways. We have libraries that let us read and write these spreadsheets. Today we're going to use Excel as an example, but we can do this with LibreOffice, with Open Spreadsheets. We can do this with Google Sheets, for example, and it works very fine. It works great. And we're going to talk really about two libraries: OpenPyXL, which is a low-level library that let us manipulate these spreadsheets, And Pandas. Pandas, we love it, we like it, we use it a lot. It's great for manipulating data, and it gives us the opportunity to read from Excel and write to Excel. Okay, let's start with OpenPyXL. What OpenPyXL does is give us this library. We can open the Excel files, we can check what's inside of them, and then we can create spreadsheets. We can create these files with the content that we want. And we can give a format to the data. We can create formulas, we can create graphs, we can create pivot tables. We can do a lot of stuff. OpenPyXL, it's a very complete library, open source, free. We are not going to see all of it today. We don't have enough time, but we can check how it works in real life. I put the homepage. The installation is very simple. We only need to do pip install OpenPyXL, and that's it. This is the link to the tutorial. You can follow it to learn the basics about OpenPyXL. And we're going to talk about Pandas. I put the homepage of Pandas, the installation. We install Pandas, we install XLRD, and we install OpenPyXL. Yes, Pandas uses OpenPyXL to write the data. It uses XLRD to read the spreadsheets. And Pandas recommend us to use the Anaconda distribution to work, to install Pandas, as Anaconda gives us the whole environment with Pandas and all the libraries it needs. In particular, in personal, I use Anaconda for most of my work, so I can recommend it too. So let's stop talking and start coding. I have a problem here, and I didn't notice it. I haven't selected my kernel. As I told you, I have my Conda AWS environment. I forgot to choose it. What we're going to do is import from the OpenPyXL library the workbook component. Workbook will be the class that encapsulates the spreadsheet. We instantiate an instance of it. We read from the, okay, sorry, I'm advanced. What we are doing here is to create a new spreadsheet. So we are going to create the new worksheet. We're going to get the first of the worksheets in the workbook. We're going to put a title on it. We're going to create a different worksheet with another title. And we're going to save our workbook with this name. So now I should be able to come here and see it now exists, this new spreadsheet. Should not be able to do. We have this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet, it's empty, but it has two worksheets, the I love Python and the more than one worksheet sheets. So it's very easy to create a workbook, and it's very easy to put worksheets in it. Excellent, and that doesn't help me anything in my work. What I need is to be able to write data to it. So what we do is with the worksheet, the first one, select the cells we want to put the data in. We can put the strings, we can put values, we can put formulas, we can do formulas of strings, whatever we want. I'm going to put this data and overwrite the file. Done. So if I open my spreadsheet again, I will notice that the data I write with my program is already here, including the formula that joins these two strings. we have this formula that joins the strings we have here. And we have a formula here that multiplies this value. So for me to write data into the worksheets is very easy. What about reading data? For example, I want to write something here. Do me a favor, give me 3 colors.
Purple.
Purple, which other?
Yellow.
Yellow, and
Orange.
orange.
Good choice.
Okay, let's say these, my colors are this one and this one. This one. I forgot. We can also put today's date, 2021, 10, 20, 12, right? We can also put numbers, 4.56. So we have data here, we have formulas. We save for a spreadsheet. And now we're going to read the file. We're going to import the load workbook function. We're going to read our Excel file. We're going to print the names of the worksheets. And we're going to iterate. We're going to the second worksheet, right? The more than one worksheet. And we're going to iterate over all the rows in the file. We're saying start from this row to this row, at least, at most 10 columns. And for each cell, if it has a value, tell me the coordinates and the value of the cell. So it tells me you have 2 worksheets, this one and this one, and you have these values. In the A1 cell, you have a color, A2 cell yellow, A3 cell another color. The A5 cell has a function, including a space at the start. You have a date, and you have a number. So as you can see, it's very easy to read the data. Okay, David, do we need to put the rows and the columns? It's forceful. No, in fact, I think not. I think I lost the example, which we don't need it. But okay, there is another way to iterate over all the rows without problems. But I don't see where I put it. Okay, we're going to do something. We can print the data type of each cell. We are not restricted for the values. So it tells me you have strings, you have dates, you have numbers, you have functions in your cells. Or we can print the comments in the cells. I forgot to put a comment. Let's do that. So you open this, and I say, let's put a comment. Is my So the comment is there. We can save the spreadsheet. We can run this again. We don't see the comment here, but we can see the comment here. You can see it says, David Sol put, green is my favorite color by David Sol. Nice. So as you can see, we have access to a lot of values of each cell. Let's see if I can show it to you now. It has a lot of values in the documentation. There is a lot of different fields we can get from the cell. The formatting, the color, the alignment, a lot of stuff. So that's so nice. I expect You already see the potential we have when we are able to open a spreadsheet, read the content, read the comments, be able to look for a specific value, even if they move the data around, even if they change a little bit only the names of the columns, which it has happened to me. We can make a program that it's able to open the spreadsheet and use it. And I want to show you this example. This is a program I use in production. Our client asked us to generate a list of all the backups we do in their computers, and I'm talking from AWS now. So one option is to go to the console in AWS, open the web application, get the list of all the backups, and start doing copy-paste, right? Maybe I can try to do a web scraper, but AWS doesn't look fondly to that and makes it really difficult. It's not easy to do. But we can use Boto3, the library that AWS provides us to do queries to the data and even control the cloud via Python. Okay. We're not going to talk about Boto3 here, but we are going to talk about how do we use OpenPyXL to take that data from the cloud and present it to the user in a very nice way. I have my headers of the column, which I'm going to use in a minute. We get the information from AWS. That's great. You use AWS, you are free to use this. It works nice. We get all the data we want. And once we have all the data, we will write it to a spreadsheet. What we are going to do is to write in the workbook all the fields we need. There are fields that are literals, that are constant, they don't change. And there are fields that we obtain from AWS and they are variables, even fields that we calculate. And we are not writing them one by one. If you remember, we use the worksheet and then index the cell we want to write. There is another way of doing it, which is the append function. The append function is going to take an array, and it's going to write everything in the array in the next line. And that's great because we don't need to keep control of which line we were writing the last time. No, you only say append all of this data, append all of this data, and it's creating the rows in the spreadsheet depending on the list we pass. So it's a very nice way of writing data, this tabular data in the spreadsheet. Here is where we set up the worksheet. We prepare it to work. What do? We set the title of the worksheet. It's a parameter we send. We put the title in the first row. I'm using a different way of writing here, which is the cell, row 1, column 1, and set the value to the title. And then I'm going to use this method, merge cells. Merge cells, it's going to join all the cells from A1 to S1, which is the number of columns I know my data has, to make this nice header on top of it. Also, I'm going to change the font of this header. I'm going to set a name of the font. I'm going to set a size. I'm going to make it bold. All of these parameters are not needed, but we can use them if we want. We can set up, if it's italics, the color of the font, all of it. We can also change the alignment. I'm going to center the value in the big cell, right, that I create from A1 to S1. It's going to be centered. I don't do it here, but you can change the border. You can change the the background of the cell. There is a lot of things you can change talking about format. And we append that as the first line of the head. The next line is going to be all the strings I defined as a constant at the beginning. Here you can remember I'm creating a new workbook. I'm getting the first active worksheet. I'm doing the setup, setting the name, adding the title, adding the column names, and then I'm going to take all the information of the backups and I'm going to write it there, one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. And after we write all the data of all the backups, I'm going to create a table. It's an Excel table. Why do I create this table with all the data from A2 to S, whatever the number of rows the worksheet has? Because I'm going to give it a style. I'm going to put a style in all the table. I put the name of the style. I want to be a banded style, one row with one color and one row without the color. I set the style for the table and I add the table. After that, I save my file and it's done. Right now, it's working for a few records. We don't have a lot of records in the account I'm running. I have an issue here. Because I have not set my environment here. That should be the trick. It was for you to see it's live. Okay. Not so much. Okay, let me run it by hand. Let's see. Any questions so far?
I haven't seen any yet in the chat, but I'm watching. So if anyone wants to send a question through on the chat, I will make sure to convey that to David.
So, it's IndyPy, sorry. We're going to run the program with manually.
Actually, David, there's a question about the version compatibility with Excel. Is this for Excel 2010 only?
2010 and up.
And up.
The problem is with Excel 2006 and down. And if you are using Excel 2006 and down, you have a problem.
Was that when they made the change for the XML file format?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the difference. The XML and the XMLX format. XLSX. So this is the file that got created. As you can see, we have our A1 to S1 cell joined with a different font, different size. And we have our table, right? With this format, with this banded format, with all the information we wanted from AWS. So we have the information already here. So it's very easy for us to run this program, to schedule it. So it runs, generates the data, and we are home free, right? We don't need to do copy pasting anymore from the AWS console. This can work, and I hope you see it as I see it. With any API, we can get data from anywhere, put it into Python, And after we process it, we can write it in Excel, format it in Excel. So we can generate these files that we get asked a lot in a very efficient way, in a very quick way. Perfect. So now we are going to see the other way, the other tool we have. We have pandas. What can we do with pandas? What we can do with pandas is to import a data frame from an Excel file. So I'm going to use the file we have just created. I run it. It opens my file. And after it opens it, it gives me the data it has inside of it. Okay, David, I see problems here. I see that it read the first line, and the first line is this header. And after it read the header, all the cells are empty, right? And then the header, the real header of the data, got into this, this finish as column names. The real column names ended up as the first data row. That doesn't look nice. I need to clean up this data, right? And we can do it. We can delete, change the column names, change these to be the column names, and guarantee that the data can be read from there. But we can do it directly. We are not forced to do it manually. So I can say, read the file, but skip the first row, and the header is the first row after that. So I'm going to skip the first header, which is only the name of the backups, and I'm going to use the second line to be the name of the columns. So I do this, and now I got my data as I want. I have my column names, I have my data over here. It can read the dates, it can read numbers, it can read strings, and I have everything here. So once I have everything in a data frame, in a Panda data frame, I'm perfectly able to process all this data. And the normal stuff we do is, let's filter the columns we are going to use. There are some columns that are constants, so I don't want them. Okay, Pandas help us even with that. We don't have to do it manually. We can read the file, skip the first header, use the second line as the column header, and tell Pandas which columns we are going to use. I only want these ones, these 5 columns. I don't want everything. So that way, we have already filtered the columns that we needed. And once we have the data in Pandas, we can do whatever we want with it. I'm going to change the order, change the name of the bigger ones, the size of application, and I'm going to change the associated media name that doesn't mean anything to me to a snapshot, and I'm going to order the data by device, by date, ignoring the numbers it has already. I don't want to keep the old numbers. I want a new index. And I want to do it in the same data frame. So if I run this, I got the data directly for me, right? I have it here. Now it's ordered by device and by date. It has the names I wanted. Everything nice, right? I could write all this data frame into an Excel file. Boring. We can do it with one line. It's very easy. We're going to do it more challenging. I'm going to get the unique devices from this data frame. I have 3 devices here, right? And now that we have the devices, I'm going to say, take the first device, filter only the records of that device. If it has this name, it's not going to work in the worksheet. The worksheet name doesn't accept the slashes. So change it to SDA only. And then write a different file for each device. So I'm going to create several spreadsheets, one for each device. And I don't have to copy and paste everything manually, which is the normal way people do it. I can run this process and it's done. I come here and I have my 3 spreadsheets, each one with the data only for one device, the SDI1 device, the second device, and the third device. Simple as that. And that's it. I finish much quicker than I expected to. But I hope you see the potential of using these libraries, OpenPyXL and Pandas, to automate everything we do with spreadsheets.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Actually, I have a question, and please, everyone else, feel free to turn your camera on, unmute, and kind of join in the conversation and asking David some questions. With the when you first loaded the first data frame from the backups file, and you were showing all the columns, the percentage came in as like not a number. I didn't know if that.
Yes, no. Let me show you. It's a column that says.
It says that. Okay, I didn't remember seeing.
This one, right?
Okay. So it wasn't like a mismatch in data type. It actually literally was that.
Yes, literally doesn't have anything.
Awesome.
But
I love the way you round trip this by creating the Excel file and then taking it and splitting it back out into Excel files again.
Yes, nice, right?
Awesome. Who else has got questions?
Something we deal a lot with it, right? We want to separate a spreadsheet into several ones. We want to join several spreadsheets into one. This can help us automate all of that.
I also love the level of formatting that you did with the OpenPyXL. It's nice to produce those business-friendly looking spreadsheets. It seems like a good deal there.
Yes, it looks very professional and it's very quick. You generate this and it's done, right? You don't need to do it manually.
And I assume you can create also multiple sheets inside of one spreadsheet. So if you wanted to change that previous example, instead of creating 3 Excel spreadsheets, you could create a one workbook with 3 sheets in it.
Exactly. Pandas lets you write several spreadsheets, several worksheets inside a workbook. Yes, it's perfectly possible. There is a lot of things Pandas and OpenPyXL lets you do that we are not seeing here.
All right, we've got questions about, can you create charts and figures inside of with the library?
Yes, with OpenPyXL, you can put a graph into the Excel workbook.
That's pretty slick. I'd never have to touch Excel again, like you, David. I would be a very, very happy man.
Exactly. Or to tell you the truth, I do this in production. I do this for a client. The only thing I have to do is come here and change the size of the columns. That's the only thing I
So
can. I
you can't do
haven't
that from
been able
PyXL?
to I haven't been able to automate that step. That's the only thing that I'm missing to change the size of the columns.
Awesome. Any more questions for David? Please feel free to, you can unmute or you can type it in the chat. Oh, so Piero has a question about integrating or connecting this to the Google Sheets API. Have you attempted that with either Pandas or PyXL?
I have not done it, but I know it's possible. Both, especially Pandas, is perfectly able to read and write to Google Sheets. And in the case of Google Sheets, there is other tools that can help you automate. In fact, I would tell you that Excel is not automation friendly. It's hard to do automation in Excel. These libraries make it very easy, but in fact, if we didn't have OpenPyXL and Pandas, it's hard to do. For many years, it was really, really hard. But Google Sheets is different. It lets you automate a lot of stuff. In fact, I would tell you it was designed to be easy to automate. And it has to do with the cloud mentality. So the paradigm changed a little bit. It's easier to do it in Google Sheets, even with a different set of tools. But you can do it with Pandas.
Awesome. There's a question from Bruce about refreshing linked data using the OpenPyXL. So if you've got some kind of linked data.
Okay, the plan with OpenPyXL is not to need the linked data. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can tell Excel, okay, let's refresh this. But the idea is that instead of having the linked data, you extract the data. What I do with AWS, you extract the data and you write the data into the file directly. And that way you don't need the link. So what we used to do with databases, for example, that we created these queries to get the database data. Instead of doing it inside Excel, you do it outside of Excel with Python, and then you start appending the records in the worksheet.
That leads really well into the next question about Excel having known row and column limits. Are there any limits that people should be aware of when they're using these tools? I mean, is it the standard Excel limits, or is there
the standard Excel limits they apply?
All right. There's a couple more questions in here. Dan asks, is there a way to email the newly created Excel files to one individual? Split, like for example, split an Excel sheet by store and send these to a store manager. So I imagine if you're using some kind of a API.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you have the ability of reading and writing Excel files in our Python programs, yeah, we can do whatever we want. We can call APIs to get data. We can call APIs to let us know that the processing has happened. We can call a webhook in Slack to say, okay, the file has been processed. We can connect to a mail service to attach these Excel files to an email and send them out automatically. The world is the limit. We have Python at our disposal, and anything we can do with Python, we can read, write Excel files, and then use it into the rest of our automation.
I think you've collectively saved this group of people many days of time.
Errors. The other thing that is great is there is no I forgot something, I deleted something by mistake, which is very common.
Yeah, that's awesome. Excellent. Is there any more? They got a couple in the chat. There's a couple of people who are like, thank you so much, David. You've just changed their lives, I think. A couple 10 out of 10s on your presentation, which I would agree with. Excellent presentation. I think more folks need to be made aware of these awesome tools like OpenPyXL and Pandas for manipulating spreadsheets, no matter how large. Don't forget about the repository link there.
Right, it's
Uh,
here.
So you can go play with the same code that you just saw on the screen.
Exactly,
and what-
and there is the code of how to do this, which is very useful. I use it a lot.
So there's a good one now. Bruce asking, can you make Python? Can you have Python make Excel crash less frequently? I'm afraid not.
I would tell you yes, because you don't use Excel.
You don't use Excel, yeah.
When you're creating the file and you're reading the file, you are not opening Excel. You don't need to have Excel installed.
That is the
You
beauty
can
of it.
run this in a Unix computer without Excel, and it works. And you send the Excel file, and the one that is going to open it, it's their problem. But you don't need Excel. You don't need to open it or have it.
Yeah, that's true. You don't even have to have it installed. You don't have Excel anywhere on your computer, right, to use any of this.
Well, in this one, I have Excel installed, but
But you don't.
I did this in a Unix computer and a Linux computer, and I don't have Excel there. I use LibreOffice in this one.
That's great.
In the Linux computer. And you can open the files with LibreOffice too. But it's nice to know you don't need the licenses of Excel.
Yeah.
You can read and write the files without Excel.